Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. I know, provocative title, but provocative title. I'm going to get to my point here. As I've spoken with David and many other in the 3D printing industry, what I've learned is that many people involved in large 3D printer companies, the 3D printer manufacturers, have not wanted to speak out against these bills that have been popping up across the country that would mandate that spyware be present in your 3D printer that tries to figure out whether or not you're printing a gun by using AI or connecting to a cloud server to figure it out from a private company. The people that manufacture 3D printers have not been against this is because they're afraid of coming out as political, or they're afraid of coming out as pro-Second Amendment or pro-gun or being seen as pro-ghost gun. I find that to be a very cowardly and weak position to take, and I'm going to explain why. You're accepting the premise of assholes at that point. As David Tobin has mentioned many times, this is not a gun bill, this is a tech bill and a surveillance bill. And one of the problems is that when we show up to explain everything, us by ourselves are not enough. The only person that I saw that came out that's really making 3D printers en masse was that gentleman Steve from Voron, and thank you very much for coming out. Shout out to you, my friend. You did an amazing job. But not having the major 3D printer manufacturers there was a real kick in the nuts, because it allowed the chair of the privacy committee who's pushing this bill to say this.
I just want to say a couple of things. One is, as you will note in the system and in the analysis, the major 3D companies are not opposed to this, which I think can instruct us that they don't think this is impossible. I think that's an important...
That's incorrect.
Now look what happened when David spoke up.
Okay, no,
Sir,
okay.
excuse me.
Okay.
You're not allowed to speak unless a member asks you a question. We're not going to tolerate any outbursts. Please exercise decorum, or I'll have to ask you to leave. Assemblymember Bauer-Cahan has the floor.
David knew that wasn't true, because we both know what the 3D printer companies think of this. They just don't say it out loud. They say it behind closed doors. This is what happened when David pointed out it wasn't true. Sniveling little man that just loves the power of his gavel. He loves being able to talk down to grown adults that are productive in their lives, that missed out on a day of paying work and traveled 6 or 7 hours to show up just to talk to people that admit that they don't even understand the technology and inform them. He yelled at him for telling the fucking truth. He called her out. She said that 3D printing companies all support this. Not a single one has said they don't support this, which, you know what? She's half right there, because while none of these 3D printing companies support this, by not saying anything and remaining silent, you allow people like Rebecca Bauer-Cahan to lie about it and make it seem like they support it when they don't. So when this bill passes in one of the largest economies in the world, the 4th largest economy in the world, almost 40 million people, when it passes here, that means it's easier to get it passed in New York. It's easier to get it passed in Delaware, which means it's easier to get it passed across the entire United States. And then people in the EU start looking at it and saying, oh, I guess we should have this as well. When you are forced to put spyware inside of your 3D printers, because remember, the company that was saying that they can put this stuff inside your 3D printer, the company that was testifying saying it's possible, is literally partnered with fucking Palantir. When that happens, you're going to have to tell your customers that we can't sell a printer to you anymore, or we have to sell it to you with spyware because we didn't bother to show up. We were too scared of how we'd be perceived. We were too scared. We didn't want to take the time. We didn't want to bother. I believe that is a very cowardly position to take. If you don't speak up now, this is not just about your money. It is not just about your fucking image. It is about ruining 3D printing for tens of millions of people that may have been able to have 3D printing in a non-spyware, in an open way, if you were open to speaking up and saying something and not accepting the premise of assholes. You know what? You want to paint me as pro-ghost gun? No, I'm going to paint you as pro-Palantir. You're the ones that want to have spyware on people's devices. This cannot work. This has no way of working, and if people wanted to make a gun, they'd find a way to do it, regardless of whether or not you put this on their 3D printer. It is your job to defend your fucking industry, and I don't see anybody else doing it. I see 16-year-olds. There was a 10-year-old kid that came out to one of these hearings to speak his mind.
My name is Kaylin West. I'm a resident of Berkeley, and I strongly oppose this bill because I think it will create more problems than it has a chance to solve.
You have all different types of people that are coming out to speak their mind, but the one set of people that I don't see anywhere are the companies that make the most money from manufacturing and selling these devices, the actual 3D printer companies themselves. If you are on the Facebook groups, Instagram groups, Twitter followers of any of these companies, you follow their social media, here's what I would ask you to do. Contact them and ask them, hey man, I noticed these bills are popping up around the country that require close source spyware be present in your 3D printers. Why have you guys not come out publicly against this? Make it safe for the companies to come out against this. Because if you don't, then people like RBK are going to be able to tell this type of lie. And when people like us show up to correct the record, we get scolded. When they were saying, oh yeah, these people just want to hack into people's devices, they just want to fuck with the emission stuff and everything like that. You had tons of independent mechanics, tons of independent repair service centers. All these people came out and supported right to repair. They showed up. They weren't afraid of how the opposition was going to portray them. They weren't afraid of it affecting their image. But for some reason, when it comes to this, all the major 3D printer companies are. That disappoints me. In my opinion, if you're a consumer of one of these companies that sells 3D printing hardware, software, anything else, I think it's important that you contact them and ask them, why have you not taken a stance on this bill? I want to see you be against these things. I don't want spyware in my devices. And if you don't say anything, they're going to put words in your mouth, and you can't allow that to happen. This is where you have some serious power, because if all of these 3D printer companies were to come out and say, no, we never actually supported this, and RBK is on the record saying she did, that's a news story right there. She lied about the position of many other companies to try and push and support a spyware bill. That would make the front page of the LA Times. That would make it to the New York Times. That would make it to every major newspaper. And then you would actually have something to hold these politicians to task. You have the power to do that. All you need to do is speak up. If you are a customer of any of these companies, please let them know that you want them to speak up. You don't want politicians to be able to lie about the position of the companies that are selling you products that are open source so that she can put spyware in them. Fuck that. I want to see that news story. I want to see LA Times, New York Times have a nice written story. Assemblywoman in California who is chair of privacy lies about company stands to put Palantir-sponsored spyware inside of 3D printers. That would be a great headline. You have the power to make it happen. All you have to do is correct the record. Here's what she said about you.
The major 3D companies are not opposed to this, which I think can instruct us that they don't think this is impossible.
Get to work. They made David out to be a liar. And because none of the major 3D printer manufacturers have come out saying what they feel about this bill, right now, there's no proof. For all you know, David is the liar here and not RBK. And I think that's really messed up because he has put in so much work and effort to push back against this so that you don't lose access to these markets, so that you're not forced to put Palantir-sponsored spyware into people's 3D printers. And if you say nothing, well, gee, I guess maybe just David's just a liar after all. Maybe he's just making it up. That would be pretty messed up. David's been going to bat for you guys for years. Don't allow him to be painted as a liar or a fool, because you don't want to speak up. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.